as the show started, the news broke. TikTok can be shut down. The Supreme Court has said unless it's sold, the law stands. So to get the legal ramifications of what could possibly happen next is our KTAR news analyst, Barry Markson. Barry, thanks for doing this on short notice.
Absolutely, Mike. Good to see you.
So let's talk about what this means to not just to this TikTok decision, but we all know Supreme Court decisions usually have bigger implications and ripple effects. What does this mean for the industry? Is there something bigger than this that will come from this decision?
No, I don't believe so, Mike.
Okay.
It's really the First Amendment part of this was really, as we all know, all of the constitutional amendments, they're not absolute. We've always heard the First Amendment, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater sort of a thing. Nothing is absolute. So here, and historically, the Supreme Court has found that if there's a compelling national interest, in this case, national security concerns, then the government has the ability to pass laws that might limit First Amendment issues. So the court here specifically said that Congress has determined that getting rid of TikTok is necessary to address the well-supported national security concerns because of the data collection that TikTok does, and it's owned by a foreign adversary. So, if Facebook or Twitter, if Congress were to pass a law saying we're going to outlaw Twitter, I think the Supreme Court decision would be 9-0 in the other direction. It's the national security concerns that kind of carried the day here.
So when it comes to what decisions will be made next, because the financial implications to a lot of businesses is severe, according to many. President-elect Trump has said he would like a 60 to 90-day stay on this, and that's what his request is. Is it possible that it shuts down on Sunday, but after the inauguration on Monday, could the president sign an executive order stopping this from going into effect, or could he stop it in some way from going into effect for a cooling off period to figure out what they're going to do, or is this just going to be a hard stop on Sunday?
I think it's not going to be a stop on Sunday at all. President Biden, as I understand it, has already said he does not intend to have his executive branch enforce this law on his last day in office. So I think they're going to leave it for President-elect Trump. As you pointed out, Trump has said he'd like some time because he can fix it. He can come in and negotiate a deal. The law itself actually allows the president, if there's evidence that TikTok is trying to sell itself to an American owner, the law allows the president to delay implementation of the law for 90 days. So Trump could easily find that, or Trump could simply instruct his Justice Department not to enforce the law for a limited amount of time, giving him some time to negotiate this resolution he's hoping for. So this is me, no one else has said this, Mike, but I don't anticipate there's going to be a break in service on TikTok yet. We'll see what Trump can do to negotiate something. The other option would be that Congress could rescind or change the law that it put into effect, which would be interesting because they just did it 6 months ago. But
Right.
Obviously, congressional Republicans are following Trump's lead right now. And although most of them voted in favor of this, it'd be interesting to see if they change their mind now if Trump asked them to.
Well, and what's fascinating to me about this is if there are national security implications, then it needs to be dealt with. But it doesn't seem to me with something the size of TikTok that it's going to be easy to sell that company, that there's, you're going to do due diligence, which is going to take time. You know that better than anyone, right? That these things are going to take a certain amount of time to assess value and all these other things, right?
Right. It isn't going to happen. There's no way a sale is going to happen in a week. This is a huge company, a multi-billion-dollar company. And that's why the law gives the president the opportunity to say the company can stay in operation while the sale is investigated and executed. So if a sale were to actually happen, it's certainly not going to happen by Monday. So that would definitely be the case. The real issue here is my impression from what President-elect Trump has said publicly is that he's changed his mind. He was the one calling for TikTok to be banned a few years ago, but now he wants to save it. But he seems to want to do something, whether it be changing the law or somehow find a way to, maybe they bring in a minority American owner. I don't know, but my guess is he wants to be able to let TikTok remain as it currently stands with its current ownership group.
Where do you think that comes? I'm asking you to speculate, but is this a business thing? Is this the incoming president realizing that the economy of the U.S., much of it relies on some of these platforms, startup businesses, younger people that are using these platforms as cornerstones of their business? Is that what this is about for him, do you think?
Well, that certainly could be some of the reason, Mike. I mean, there have been reports when when this law was first being discussed, and Trump initially was for it and then said he was against it, he met with some investors of TikTok who are also campaign contributors, and came out of that meeting seemingly with a different view. So I don't know if he learned something in that meeting. I don't know if there's something else happening, but certainly the president-elect's position has changed considerably. So I don't know what the reason is. Maybe he'll let us know here over the next several days. But at this point, he's saying it pretty publicly that he wants to figure out a way for TikTok to stay open, not necessarily to be sold to Americans, but to stay with its current ownership group. To do that, I think he's going to have to figure out a way to get Congress to change the law.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because looking at his change in mind, but I'm hearing from people, we get messages all the time. There are people that are really worried that this could put a big dent in their business if it were to shut down. And I don't know if there's a way that they could have been preparing for this, but they're very concerned.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of TikTok people have been moving or transitioning over to other platforms to kind of try to save that business. But you're right. I mean, people make a lot of money from this. It would be a big hardship for an awful lot of people if this were just to shut down cold. If at some point it's determined that, well, now we know the law will remain in effect. If President Trump can't find a solution to keep it in current ownership, I anticipate they'll sell it. So there should be a way for these folks to stay up and running. As I said, what I expect now is that because of what Trump has said publicly, I expect TikTok will continue to operate in the short term as it is now, while President Trump attempts to find a solution to this, whether that be new ownership or a change in the law. That's what I think is going to happen, Mike.
Barry, I always enjoy it, and I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too, Mike. Thanks.
All right, Barry Markson spending a few moments.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.